Tell me about working with Rick Baker, the makeup wizard of all time
Oh,
on Maleficent.
um, well, he's wonderful, and I was with Tony G, who's my dear friend and godmother, PM godmother to my daughter Vivian, who's the makeup artist I worked with, and she learned from Rick and works with Rick, so she brought me over to his place, and we tried a lot of different looks. I wish we had documentation of it because it's pretty funny, all the things she could have been. And then we settled on this, which was actually the simplest version of what we were working on to try to find something that was not so distracting that she could really have emotional scenes, but also still have that look of the creature.
Did you settle on that before you signed on to the movie, or did you just assume that you would come to a creative alliance on that?
Well, I had a very good, they hadn't done the villains at that time, and so I had a very good relationship with Disney, we were all kind of really doing it together.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't feel like stuck in a box where they were going to push her on me. We were really, it was a beautiful script, and no, I felt like we were going to try to. We were all really insane. It was fun. It was a fun process,
Mm-hmm.
but we were trying to figure out. Okay, so she has horns like a goat, but then she has wings like a bird. Does she have hair or does she have feathers? Does she have feet or does she have hooves? Is she a we had tried goat contacts. I actually loved those, but nobody would buy it. But they've got these rectangular pupils. So it was an interesting,
Mm-hmm.
what is this creature? How green are we going to make her? Are we going to make her green? What's the thing? And a lot of it was, how do you make somebody look like this, but then not be staring at it when you have scenes like that,
Yeah.
right? And that and so that was the magic of being at Rick's place and being with Tony and Arian, who made the pieces, where we all just took the time and played and created, and it was nice.
Clint Eastwood.
Clint Eastwood, who really does only do one take most of the time.
Yeah.
That is true. It's a rumor about him, but it's actually true.
Yeah. And he doesn't say action, and he doesn't say cut.
Yeah, I don't think what he does say something though. What is he says? Sometimes he says something. Is it like okay? I don't know what he says, but it is true. He's very what he does do that a lot of people maybe don't know is he writes the music. He wrote the theme in the Changeling early,
Mm-hmm.
and his musical compositions are so beautiful and so soulful. And when you hear them, and when that's your director, and you understand that part of his directing is this music and this piece and you understand him a little differently, and so that was really impressive to me. But also that he was very like, you do your job, like you're expected to know your job.
Yeah.
Right? You're not expected to come on set and still be learning your lines and have a lot of questions. He expects you to be, you're here, I'm here doing my job, you do your job.
Yeah.
Which
What,
kind of is this great, exciting thing, because you realize he gives you that freedom, but he also says, we're not going to do this forever. So, like, bring it.
yeah.
And the great thing is, you can bring it. You can bring everything you got, because he's not going to ask you to do it 17 times for no reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's challenging, but it's also quite freeing, because you really do it keeps you on your toes.
Mm-hmm. We're now going to see a clip from Unbroken. So that brings us to directing again. And this is not the first one you directed, but a great story about Louis Zamperini, and a great piece of casting, Jack O'Connell. And but directing is so different from acting or being a star, and with the responsibilities and the burdens that come with being a movie star. But directing, you have to answer 10,000 questions a day and decide all sorts of things that you needn't think about when you're acting in a movie. What was the experience like, first time and this time?
Oh, it's the best. I love directing. I prefer directing. I don't. I think again, it's like you know, if you have the right family, you trust your heads of department, you love your actors, you love your work, and you're all there together. Your job is to kind of make this space and bring the best in everybody, and come with a strong plan and take responsibility. But I really loved it because I love seeing the best in other people, and I actually like being behind the camera. So that's amazing.
What was it like when you first had to audition actors, having been on the other side of that
Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty bad at it. I'm bad at it because I'm I'm good at seeing. I think I'm good at seeing what's authentic, but I really want to give everybody a job. So I have to be very careful. You know, just who ends up in some. I really want to try to narrow it down as much as possible, not waste anybody's time. Ask them. You know, I really just don't like the game of the audition. I like or make people wait. All of that makes me, you know, brings memories back for me. So but um, but I love the process, and I love young actors. You know, it's. I feel very obviously very close to them, and I think I'm good at. I hope I'm good at knowing a bit how to make the space that they need to be able to feel able to do their work.
you did something that I think is so fantastic. Having been the subject or object, depending on how you look at it, of paparazzi and celebrity mania and all of that, you sold the rights to your baby's first photos for millions of dollars that went to a variety of worthy causes and sort of turned the tables on all of that kind of media flash. And yes,
It's a strange thing to have to do or to do, but it was the
talk about means
better
to an
better
end.
option. But also, it was for their safety. It was that somebody were coming for it,
Yeah,
and it was a safety concern as well. So it was just better to control it in a safe place, in a safe way.
yes. But,
And yeah, and do something good with it, which is obviously, you know, if you can, that's much better.
tell me about your first conversation with Pablo Larraín about playing Maria Callas.
My first conversation with him was many years prior, where I just told him I loved his work and always wanted to work with him. And then years later, he called me and asked me about Maria and talked to me about this thought. He didn't have a script. He just told me about his childhood and his relationship to Maria Callas and music and opera and who she was, and asked me to look her up if I didn't know enough and think about it. And so I asked him to have a few days to think about it because it seemed like the difficult one to do. It seemed like something that I needed to be sure I was able to do and write for. And so I took a few days and I listened to a lot of her music, which I realized I had been listening to over my life. I didn't know it was her. And I listened to a lot of her interviews, which I wish you had, because they would be wonderful to watch, because her interviews are amazing. If you haven't seen them, watch her young ones. And then like it's just the way she handles herself and the way she speaks is great. But what I saw was a person who was really holding herself under a lot of stress, and a very articulate, thoughtful woman who was a really complex artist. And I especially saw her last interviews and some of the last things that were said about her, and they were so mean. They were just horrible. Her last interview, I think it was Wallace, was just mean to her. And I think when she died, I know she felt quite alone, quite abandoned, quite failure. And so that was part of the reason I felt, no, she gets one more, I want,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't, I want to relook at those days. I want to honor her life. And I became like artist to artist, very, very, so I just wanted to defend her. So,
Well, I mean, a world-class filmmaker comes to you and says, okay, here's the deal. You get to play one of the most interesting, notorious, famous, celebrated women of the 20th century. But you have to learn to sing opera. And in tight close-up.
yeah, he didn't say tight close up the first call. Pablo was really good. Pablo was really good at like not, he would say you'd sing. And I didn't really tell him I'd never sung ever. Because you never do as an actor, right? You don't ever say you can't do something.
No, can you ride a horse? Yeah.
Yes. So I said, yeah, sure, I can sing. But you also I didn't realize, and I don't even think he fully realized at the time, that you can't fake sing opera. You know, because you can see it's like fake screaming. You know, you can't. Your body does something very specific. Your mouth, your throat, your whole you. It's not something you can kind of do. I did not realize that at first, and that became clear. And then we both found out that the only way to record me was to have nothing else in the room, no piano, no soundtrack, no nothing, no playback, so that I was going to be alone on the stage singing with only my voice in front of an audience. That I'd already taken the job by then, so it was done. But so step by step, and then he said, "Oh, and we're going to start with a giant close-up because we just need to get it over with, for we need to like." And I think was actually smart. He said, "They're waiting to see you do it, so just do it and do it fully and super close right away, and do it." So I did it, but And it's amazing because what an amazing thing, anytime in your life someone comes to you and says, you have a job, and in your job, you're going to learn a new skill, right? That's such an amazing gift to say, we're going to help you. You're going to meet nice people who are going to help you learn to do something you've never done before. That's the most extraordinary thing about being an actor.
Right. How did you give up 20 packs a day?
2
packs a day.
I don't
Sorry.
What do you
Freudian
think of me?
slip.
I started training really hard. I didn't, I hadn't really done that. And for Tomb Raider, there was a few months of just nothing but multiple training sessions a day and morning, noon, and night. And I didn't want anything but, good food, water, and sleep at a certain point because I was in training, and that's what your body, you change. So, but yeah. And then I had kids, so then I never did it again. Well, I think I did once or twice here and there, but I don't suppose now.
We're into truth-telling now. That's fine.
Yeah.
We're going to watch a scene from Unbroken, directed by you, and then we're going to watch a scene from Maria, in which you give your whole self to this character. Let's watch.
Thank you.